Hello, welcome to Book Journey. Today, I'm going to interpret a book for you called The Minto Pyramid Principle, with the subtitle Logic in Writing, Thinking, and Problem Solving. The Pyramid Principle method originated from the famous consulting management firm McKinsey Company. The person who first proposed this method is Barbara Minto, who is also the author of this book. Minto is a graduate of Harvard Business School and was the first female consultant at McKinsey. After joining McKinsey, the company recognized her writing and expression skills and arranged for her to help consultants who were not good at expressing their views to improve their abilities. As a result, she gradually developed the Pyramid Principle method during this process. For a long time, people did not propose a clear method to teach us how to express, think, and solve problems logically. It was not until Barbara Minto summarized the Pyramid Principle. The English original of this book has been published for more than 40 years, translated into many languages, and reprinted several times, ranking high on the bestseller lists of various countries for many years. Its first Chinese edition was published in 2002, and after 20 years, the influence of this book is still very large, often included in various must-read lists, and recommended by many people. For example, if you search for the Minto Pyramid Principle on the platform, you will find that it has appeared in many courses. Teacher Heifan recommends it in Heifan's Reading Club, believing that this book can improve your writing ability. Teacher Gu Dian recommends it in Super Individual because he believes that this book can improve your structured thinking ability. Teacher Liu Run recommends it in 5-Minute Business School because he believes that this book can make your expression more focused. Teacher Wu Bo-fan recommends it in Bo-fan's Daily Knowledge Record because he believes that this book can help you manage knowledge. However, if you search for reviews of this book on the internet, you can also see another voice, criticizing the book as empty. I saw a review saying that the so-called Pyramid Principle can actually be explained in half a minute. Anything can be summarized into a central argument, which can be supported by 3 to 7 arguments. Each argument itself can become a point, and similarly, it can also be supported by 3 to 7 arguments, repeating the shape like a pyramid. The Pyramid Principle is a simplified version of the 3 elements of argumentative essays in our high school Chinese classes. The author had to write a 290,000-word book to explain such a thing, and this book is really not recommended. There are also many such evaluations. Why is the evaluation of this book so polarized? Is it really that some people are mythologizing this book, or is this book very valuable, but many people haven't read it out? In fact, whether it is criticism or praise, it comes from a characteristic of the Pyramid Principle, which is that this set of methods is very simple and clear. Later, I will introduce to you what the Pyramid Principle is. It's not as simple as the criticism said. It can be explained in half a minute, but 10 minutes is enough for you to fully understand the Pyramid Principle. Although some critics think that such a simple theory is not worth everyone's praise, it is precisely because of the simplicity and clarity of the Pyramid Principle that it has 2 advantages. First, the scope of the Pyramid Principle is particularly wide, such as using the Pyramid Principle to guide our expression, whether you want to explain a matter to others within 1 minute, or use a 1-hour speech to elaborate on a problem in detail. You can use the Pyramid Principle to help you organize your thoughts. Or, when you receive a project at work, you want to complete this project at least 3 steps, clarify your own thinking, formulate problem-solving steps, and persuade others to help you. These 3 steps can also be completed more quickly and systematically with the help of the Pyramid Principle. Second, because the Pyramid Principle is simple and clear, it will derive more methods. To be honest, the Minto Pyramid Principle has been on the market for more than 40 years, and some of the methods given in the book are indeed a bit outdated from today's perspective. However, more people later, based on the core concept of the Pyramid Principle, found more and better methods. Or they were surprised to find that the methods they thought were original were highly consistent with the concept of the pyramid principle. For example, our teacher Li Nannan, who is very good at telling stories and has infectious writing, sighed after reading this book. I originally thought that my writing method was explored when I was a documentary director, and I didn't expect that someone wrote it into a book decades ago. So you see, the pyramid principle is like an operating system. Some of the built-in software is indeed not very good, but you can load more and better software on the operating system, and even develop your own software based on this principle. Moreover, this operating system can not only be installed on desktops, but also on notebooks, tablets, and mobile phones, allowing you to use a set of operating systems to handle various tasks big and small. Even when facing a task with no experience, you at least have a general solution. Strong scalability and wide applicability are the biggest advantages of the pyramid principle. Next, I will introduce the pyramid principle to you in 4 parts. The first part, let's take a look at what the pyramid principle is. Next, let's see how to apply the pyramid principle to learning, life, and work, and the latter 3 parts. Let's look at 3 of the most common scenarios in real life, as the subtitle of this book says, thinking, expressing, and solving problems. In these 3 parts, we will not only talk about the methods in the book, but also introduce methods that are better to use outside of this book. The first part. Let's first see what the pyramid principle is. We mentioned before that some people say that the pyramid principle is a simplified version of the 3 elements of argumentative essays in our high school Chinese classes, with 3 to 7 arguments under the central argument, and then 3 to 7 sub-arguments under each argument. In fact, this is just the appearance of the pyramid principle. So what is the core of the pyramid principle? As teacher Wu Bo-fan mentioned in Bo-fan's Daily Knowledge Record, the pyramid principle is a systematic way of managing information. The famous cognitive psychologist Steven Pinker once said, "The difficulty of writing lies in expanding web-like thoughts through tree-like syntax with linear text." This sentence is particularly powerful because it reveals the underlying logic of writing and points out the biggest technical content of writing: how to gather countless fragmented ideas in the mind and integrate them into the best line of text is the biggest challenge for writers. Moreover, this is not only our writing process, but also our logical thinking process. Our way of thinking often goes through these 3 stages: web-like, tree-like, and linear. A large part of our thinking is actually stuck in the web-like stage. That is, we have a lot of relevant information, which seems to be related to a theme, but there is no logic between these pieces of information. And everything we do outwardly, the requirements for us, often follow a linear logic. For example, now I'm talking to you about this book, which part to talk about first, then which sentence to say first, and then which sentence, I must design it first. When we take action, it is also the same. What to do first, what to do next. Just like a programmer writing a program, we need a detailed action guide to complete complex actions. This is also linear. So why is it that many times, a book, I feel that I have read it and understood it, no problem. But as soon as I practice it, I'm at a loss. Let you tell others about this book, you can't. Let you follow this book to take action, you can't do it. Because the web-like thinking and linear thinking do not match, there is a key step in the middle to make the web-like thinking logical and organized. It's like when we watch suspense detective TV series, the detective has a lot of clues in his hands, all related to this case, but he hasn't figured out the relationship between these clues yet. He will make a clue wall with various photos, clippings, and notes pasted on the wall, and then connect the clues to find the logic and determine the next action. This is the core value of the pyramid principle. All these technologies are to find a systematic method to construct a clear hierarchical and logically clear tree-like thinking. If this step is done well, the road from thinking to expression, from thinking to action is completely unblocked. This is the most important significance of the pyramid principle: to build our thinking middleware, systematically manage information, and unblock thinking, expression, and action. The second part. Next, let's see how to apply the pyramid principle in practice. Let's first talk about how to use the pyramid principle to improve thinking ability. Many people have a misunderstanding, that is, I am eloquent, many things are clear in my heart, but I can't express them clearly. In fact, most people can't express it clearly because they haven't figured it out yet. If the thinking is clear, expression and action will become more fluent. The book gives an example. Your colleague wants to organize a meeting, originally scheduled for tomorrow on Wednesday, but he tells you that he wants to change the time. When he called you, he said, Leo, who is responsible for marketing, said he has something to do tomorrow and can't attend the meeting. Wang, who is responsible for research and development, said that he will have more time after tomorrow, and it can be open tomorrow, but he has no time before 11 o'clock tomorrow. Ma, who is responsible for the product, said that he can only rush back from Shanghai later tomorrow. And when I was going to book the meeting, I found that the large meeting room has been booked for tomorrow, and only the small meeting room is available, and the department colleagues may not be able to sit in if they participate, but the large meeting room on Thursday has not been booked yet. So, it is more appropriate to schedule our meeting for 11 a.m. On Thursday. Do you have time? You see, I just said a lot, and you may have only heard that there is a meeting at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and other information has been omitted. Now let's change the way of speaking. If the colleague said to you, the meeting originally scheduled for tomorrow wants to be changed to 11 a.m. on Thursday, do you have time on your side? Because on Wednesday, Leo, who is responsible for marketing, has something to do. Ma, who is responsible for the product, can't come back from Shanghai, and Wang, who is responsible for research and development, will also have more time on Thursday. And you can also book the large meeting room on Thursday and invite all relevant department colleagues to participate. So, the meeting is changed to 11 a.m. on Thursday. Is it okay? This time when you listen to your colleague's introduction, isn't it much clearer? Why is that? Because you can clearly hear the conclusion. Just like in the example I just gave, the first thing you hear is that we are changing the meeting to 11 a.m. on Thursday. Is it okay? You can immediately grasp the key point of this paragraph. When organizing scattered information, the author particularly emphasizes conclusion first. However, please note that summarizing a few issues or reasons is not a conclusion. The conclusion is a clear view. For example, we often see similar sentences in meetings or articles: our company currently has 2 issues, or there are 3 reasons for the success of our project. The author said that once you use these as arguments, it means that you have not thought it through, because we cannot obtain any effective information from the 2 issues or 3 reasons you mentioned. The book suggests that you can directly express your views. For example, if you want to analyze the problems in employee management, you can say that the company's employee responsibilities and corresponding incentive systems do not match, resulting in lower employee performance. Such a view is much more valuable, and as soon as you say it, others can immediately know what you want to express. However, if the ideas have not been organized, it is difficult to put the conclusion first. How can you organize scattered ideas and fragmented information? This book tells us that the process is not as complicated as you think. In fact, the logic of organizing information is nothing more than 4 types: chronological order, spatial order, order of importance, and logical deduction order. As long as you understand the 4 logical orders, you can handle the vast majority of information. You already know what chronological order, spatial order, and order of importance mean. What is the order of logical deduction? It is the syllogism we say: major premise, minor premise, and conclusion. For example, the major premise is that people need to breathe. The minor premise is that I am a person. then the conclusion is that I need to breathe. If you have a view, you can choose any one of these four orders to organize the arguments that support this view, and then summarize the theme. At this time, this information is no longer a scattered idea, but a complete expression with a clear conclusion and a clear structure. However, it's not over yet. There is an important step before expressing, which is checking. The book gives a check standard to see if this argument complies with the McKinsey principle, that is, the arguments supporting a point should be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. In simple terms, the McKinsey principle can be summarized in 4 words: no repetition and no omission. For example, if you want to say that Xiao Wang has a strong work ability, this is your point. You gave 3 arguments. First, the tasks assigned by the leader can always be completed on time. Second, he has a good relationship with colleagues. Third, he never delays the handover of work. These 3 points may be arranged according to importance. However, when checked with the McKinsey principle, there are problems with these 3 arguments. First, they are not mutually exclusive. For example, completing the tasks assigned by the leader on time and not delaying the handover of work, these 2 points overlap. Second, these 3 points do not fully exhaust the requirements of a person with strong work ability in the workplace. Therefore, when organizing ideas, we must not only ensure logical clarity, but also check these pieces of information with the McKinsey principle to ensure no repetition and no omission. In summary, to organize a large number of scattered ideas and fragmented information into logically clear and complete information, you can divide it into 4 steps. The first step is to divide into piles, grouping related ideas into one pile. The second step is horizontal combing. You can use chronological order, spatial order, degree order, or deductive order to comb the logic between information. The third step is vertical thinking, summarizing and generalizing the theme. Finally, use the McKinsey principle to check whether each part is independent of each other. Are there any missing contents? If you can achieve no repetition and no omission, your thinking is relatively complete. How to exercise this kind of thinking ability? The Minto Pyramid Principle does not provide a good method in this book. However, I found a good exercise method in another book, which is called 0-second thinking. Coincidentally, the author of this 0-second thinking also comes from McKinsey Company. This training method is called the A4 paper note method. How to do it specifically? 3 steps. The first step, take an A4 paper and place it horizontally in front of you. The second step, write the theme of the note in the upper left corner, for example, how to make your thinking more logical. The third step, within 1 minute, quickly write down all the related content you think of. The ideal state is to write 4 to 6 lines, each line 20 to 30 words. The reason for setting a 1-minute time limit is to make people more focused. If there is no time limit, it is very easy to get distracted or get stuck when writing notes, and rewrite after writing 2 lines and finding them unsatisfactory. At the beginning, it is often difficult to think of what to write. At this stage, just let yourself write enough 3 lines. Try to complete several pages of A4 notes every day, and after writing dozens of pages of notes, you will find the feeling. When you are proficient in the A4 note method, you can use it to exercise your logical thinking ability. Under one theme, you have listed 4 to 6 lines of content. Then you can ask yourself, what kind of logic should these contents be arranged in? Is it chronological order, spatial order, importance order, or logical deduction order? Finally, use the McKinsey principle to check whether your content has achieved no repetition and no omission. The third part. After talking about thinking, let's talk about how to use the pyramid principle to improve the ability of expression. In the workplace, we almost have the need to express every day. Verbal expressions include meetings, reporting, and speeches. There are more scenes for written expressions, such as making a plan, writing a report, making an application, etc. Even sending an email is a form of written expression. And we all know that it's not easy to make others willing to listen to your speech or read your article. Where is the difficulty in expression? You may think that I lack eloquence and writing skills, but this book mentions that these are not the most important. To have a clear expression, the most important thing is to reduce the cognitive burden on the other party. Our brain cognition has a characteristic, that is, the short-term memory of the brain is very limited. Scientists have found that the capacity of human short-term memory is 7 plus or minus 2, which means that people with strong memory can remember 9 things at a time, and those with poor memory can remember at most 5 things at a time. Don't believe we can do an experiment? I have 12 English letters here. I'll read them once, and you can see how many you can remember after listening once. C, P, U, N, B, A, K, T, V, R, P, G. But if I read it again in another way, CPU, NBA, KTV, RPG, you will find that it is much easier to remember this time. It's like there are only 7 drawers in our brain, and it's hard to fit anything else when they're full. But no one stipulates that each drawer in the brain can only hold 1 letter, so we can group the 12 letters. In this way, we only need 4 drawers to fit these letters into the brain. This ability to package complex information is called chunking. Even if your article is very short, only 1 page, it will also include about dozens of sentences. Readers must read and understand each sentence, look for the connection between each sentence, and think about it back and forth, which is actually a very brain-consuming job. The less time you can make the other party spend to understand your meaning, the more you are a master of expression. So what kind of method can reduce the cognitive burden on the other party? You need a clear pyramid structure. I made a summary. There are 3 key points, 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. I made a diagram of the content of this audio according to the pyramid principle. Open the manuscript, and you can view this diagram. Let's talk about these 3 key points according to this diagram. Let's first talk about 1 goal, the most important point of the pyramid structure, called connecting information with questions. For example, in this diagram, from reducing cognitive burden to the cognitive characteristics of the brain, there is a question hidden behind this line, called why. Why is the core of expression logic to reduce cognitive burden? Because there are only 7 drawers in our brain, and it is difficult to fit anything else when they are full. From reducing cognitive burden to pyramid structure, there is also a question hidden behind this line, called how to do it. How can we reduce cognitive burden? Use the pyramid structure. This is the core goal of the pyramid structure, to connect fragmented information with questions. Find the right question, and you will find the right connection, and you will sort out the right logic. After talking about this 1 goal, let's talk about the 2 directions. Building a pyramid structure, you can go from top to bottom, or from bottom to top. Simply put, from top to bottom is to find answers with questions. First, determine the main question, and for each question, you need to give an answer. Then you can imagine, will others raise new questions for the answer you give? If so, you continue to connect down, and in this way, you build a pyramid layer by layer. In addition, you can also change direction and build a pyramid from bottom to top, which is actually the opposite, to find questions with answers. Because many times, our ideas are fragmented, and we haven't figured out the big question yet, so you need to list all the key points you want to say first, and then group these points, see which ones are related, and whether there is a common theme behind them. Find the connection between them, and finally, you will find the core question. The book also has a small reminder, suggesting that you try to use the top-down method first, as this method can build the structure faster. The bottom-up method is a bit more difficult because you need to find connections from fragments. However, this method also has benefits, as it can better enhance your creative thinking. Finally, let's talk about the 3 principles. The first is vertical, that is, the ideas at each level of the article must be a summary of the ideas at the next level. The second is horizontal, that is, the ideas in each group must belong to the same logical category. The third is also horizontal, that is, the ideas in each group must be organized in a logical order. If you want to write an article or prepare a speech, you can organize it according to these three principles. First, determine a central idea, and then use questions to connect information. In fact, good expression is like flying a kite. The other party is the kite, and you have a line in your hand. You keep letting go of the line, allowing him to go further and further, but you also need to pull the line from time to make him focus. Asking questions is pulling the line, giving answers is letting go of the line. You can continue to push forward in the entire content according to the order of asking questions and giving answers. Use questions to arouse curiosity and answers to convey information. Now that we know how to organize an article, how can we make others willing to listen to you and willing to read your article? In other words, how can we make others interested in the topics you propose? This comes to the beginning of the article. When we were in school, we always heard teachers say that the composition should have a phoenix head and a leopard tail. A good beginning can attract others to continue reading. How to design a good beginning. The book The Minto Pyramid Principle gives us a useful template called the SCQA model. SCQA is actually the initial letter of the four English words background, conflict, question, and answer. Let's break them down one by one. First, let's talk about S, situation, which is the background, that is, before you introduce a view or analyze a problem to the other party, first introduce the background information, which will establish a consensus between you and the other party and lock the other party's focus on a specific time and space, which is easier to introduce your view. After explaining the background, the reaction of others may be, "I agree with what you said, but so what?" Or, "Why are you telling me this?" At this time, you can introduce C, complication, which is the conflict. It's like we have a common goal, but we have found obstacles in the process of achieving it. Using background and conflict, you have constructed a challenge. When facing a challenge, people usually have four kinds of psychology. The first is empathy. Even if this predicament is not mine, it is someone else's, I also feel uncomfortable. The second is the desire to get rid of it. This challenge is also my predicament, I want to get rid of it. The third is to take a shortcut, that goal I really want to achieve, but this obstacle is very annoying. Can I solve it quickly? The fourth is a competitive heart. Although this is a challenge, I must overcome it. No matter which psychological factor, the other party has started to pay more attention to this topic, and you have successfully aroused the other party's interest in this topic. At this time, the question he cares about the most is what to do. You can give the third element of the SCQA model, that Q, question, to point out the doubt in his heart. After that, your audience will naturally have expectations and want to know the answer to the question. At this time, you can give them an answer A, answer. Next, you can continue to use a question plus an answer to raise his doubts, and then soothe his emotions to give him a sense of certainty. He will follow your train of thought and listen to this topic. Speaking of this, you understand that if you want the audience to be interested in your topic, you don't have to deliberately cater to the audience to talk about a topic that you think they will care about. What you need is to set up a challenge. This SCQA model uses the curiosity caused by conflict in the brain to motivate us to read on, which is the same reason why we are willing to listen to stories. After talking about the use of the SCQA model, the author has two reminders. First, in the SCQA model, you should pay special attention to that S, the background. If you know who is reading your article or listening to your report, it is easy to introduce the background at this time. After all, everyone is familiar and consensus is easier to establish. For example, when you write an internal email in the company and report to the department members, it is easier at this time. However, if you are facing a wide range of readers or audience, such as when you publish articles in magazines, publish books, or give speeches in public places, it will be relatively difficult to introduce the background at this time. You need to ensure that the background information you introduce can form a consensus with the reader, and this matter you and he understand. The second suggestion given in the book is that you can adjust the order of SCQA according to your needs, which can help you achieve different effects. If you want to get straight to the point, you can put the answer in front, and then say the background, and finally lead to the conflict. If you want to arouse the other party's curiosity, you can put the conflict in front, and then say the background, and finally give the answer. Speaking of this, let's briefly summarize. If you want to explain a matter clearly, you should try to reduce the cognitive burden on the other party as much as possible. You can't deliver a bunch of information fragments to the other party, but you should deliver complete and clear hierarchical information to the other party. You can build a pyramid structure and pay attention to 3 key points, 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. If you want to arouse the other party's interest and make them willing to watch and listen to the content you express, you can use the SCQA model. First, build a challenge with background and conflict, and then, according to the question plus answer method, make others willing to pay attention to the content you discuss. You may ask, the method just mentioned is still a bit complicated. If I want to start practicing from scratch, is there the simplest method? Teacher He Fan has summarized his writing method according to the pyramid principle, called He Fan's 3 moves. The first move, the first sentence of each natural paragraph must be the central idea of this paragraph. The second move, the following sentences in each natural paragraph must have a logical relationship, whether it is a progressive relationship, a parallel relationship, or a comparative relationship, there must be a logical relationship. The third move, there must be a logical relationship between the first sentence of the previous natural paragraph and the first sentence of the next natural paragraph, whether it is a parallel relationship, a progressive relationship, or a comparative relationship, there must be a logical relationship. Teacher He Fan not only summarized He Fan's 3 moves, but also provided us with an important experience. For writers, writing clearly is more important than writing vividly, because reducing the cognitive burden on the other party is the key to expression. If you want to practice writing, you might as well start learning from He Fan's 3 moves. The fourth part. Finally, let's talk about how to find solutions to problems with the help of the pyramid principle. You know, solving problems is the signature skill of McKinsey and Company. You should note that the consulting industry is specifically for other companies to prescribe. A company comes to McKinsey often because there are some new problems in its operations. The consulting firm is like a doctor, looking, smelling, asking, and cutting, and then telling you what capabilities your company needs to improve most now, and what we suggest you should do. But at this time, the consulting firm will face a challenge. Before accepting the commission, he may not be very familiar with your market and your operations. He needs to find the crux of the problem in as short a time as possible and give a solution. Generally, consulting firms will first collect information, company information, industry information, and information about the entire market. The more comprehensive the information, the better, and then summarize them all together. The final result is often a mountain of information, and a large number of details have wasted them too much time. If it is close to the deadline and a good solution has not been found, they can only classify these materials and add a general title. For example, what our findings are, what the conclusions and recommendations are, plus a large amount of data and charts. It looks very substantial, but it doesn't really help solve the problem. Of course, it is not said that the early collection of information is not important. This is the basis of analysis. However, you can't let yourself get caught up in a large amount of information fragments, which not only affects efficiency, but may also fail to find the key problem in the end. So how can you find an effective solution? The author reminds us to establish structured thinking and place information in a structured framework. First, I will introduce a classic thinking model inside McKinsey, empty umbrella. Where does this name come from? I'll tell you, and you'll remember. Today, I'm going to go out, and I look out the window and find that the sky is overcast, and I think it might rain later, so I have to take an umbrella when I go out. So what does this model have to do with solving problems? In fact, each character helps you solve a step of the problem. Empty is to look up at the sky and find that it is cloudy today, which is a fact, and you need to first state the facts. Rain is that it might rain later, which is an inference and judgment made based on the information, that is, you need to predict the next change. Umbrella, I have to take an umbrella when I go out, which is to determine the next action based on the previous prediction. So, you will find that empty umbrella is from fact to judgment to action, from what it is, to why it is, and then to how to do it. However, in reality, the problems we need to solve are much more complex, so this book expands the 3 steps we just mentioned. It gives a series of suggestions. The most critical among them is to define the problem. Just like an experienced doctor, only by finding the source of the disease can the right medicine be prescribed. The book gives a very useful method, which is related to the SCQA model we mentioned earlier, that is, background, conflict, doubt, and answer. Different backgrounds and different conflicts lead to different problems. According to the summary in the book, there are actually only 7 types of problems. I have listed these 7 types of problems in a checklist in the manuscript, and I suggest you collect it. The next time you need to solve a problem, first see which type of problem it is among the 7 types. After finding the problem, how should it be solved? The author suggests that we should learn from scientists. Business consulting and scientific research seem to be different fields, but the core is actually the same. Everyone is analyzing phenomena, drawing conclusions, and then finding action plans. Scientists have formed a set of effective research methods over the years. Moreover, this method relies more on structured thinking than business consulting. If you study a company, you can collect all the information about the company and the industry. For example, if you are an astronomer, how can you collect all the information about the universe and then do research? This way of collecting information first and then analyzing it is not feasible. So for hundreds of years, scientists have accumulated a set of effective methodologies. The way of scientific research is to propose various hypotheses first, then design important experiments, eliminate one or more hypotheses based on the results, and draw clear conclusions from the experiments. 100 years ago, Mr. Hu Shu introduced this scientific method to the Chinese people with 8 characters called bold hypothesis, careful verification. These 8 characters are very good. In other words, you should first force yourself to think about the reasons for the problem. These reasons may be reliable or unreliable, it doesn't matter, make bold assumptions first. After that, you have a focus, and then you collect information to verify whether the reasons you imagined are the real causes of the problem. How to verify specifically? The book gives a suggestion to present a tangible structure to help you find the key points of the problem. Any specific field of a company or an industry has a clear structure, including systems composed of different units. If you can draw a system diagram of the current or ideal situation, it can help you determine whether there is a problem, and help you find and analyze the reasons for the problem. Take the simplest example: I am reading at home, and suddenly my desk lamp goes out. How do I find the problem? I would first unplug the desk lamp, plug in another lamp into that socket. If another lamp lights up, then it is the desk lamp that is broken. If another lamp does not light up, I will go to another room to see if the socket is working. If the socket in other rooms works, then it is this socket that has a problem. If the sockets in other rooms are not working, then it is a power outage at home. I will check the electricity meter to see if I forgot to pay the electricity bill. or look at the home distribution box to see if it has tripped. If none of these are the case, I will look at the lights in the corridor to see if they are on, ask the neighbors if they have electricity. If the neighbors also have no electricity, then the whole building has a power outage. I will call the property to ask them to repair it. If there is no electricity in the surrounding buildings, then it is a large-scale municipal power outage, and I have to call the power company. Why determine the problem in this way? Because the power system is transmitted from a community to a building, to a household, to a room, to a socket. In this way, I have established this tangible structure in my mind. When I look for problems, I go up level by level, and I can see the key point of the problem. Conclusion. Just now we talked a lot about the book The Minto Pyramid Principle. Now, let's summarize. What is the Pyramid Principle? It is a systematic way of managing information. Why do we need to systematically manage information? Because our thinking is often web-like thinking. There is a lot of relevant information, which seems to be related to a theme, but there is no logic. Expression and action require linear thinking. Web-like thinking and linear thinking do not match, and there is a key step in the middle to make web-like thinking logical and organized. This is the core value of the pyramid principle. All technologies, that is, to find a systematic method to construct a clear hierarchical and logically clear tree-like thinking. If this step is done well, the road from thinking to expression, from thinking to action, is completely unblocked. Next, we talked about specific applications. How to think clearly about a thing, that is, how to organize scattered information or ideas into a complete expression. You can use time, space, importance, or logical deduction order to sort out the logic, and then summarize the conclusion. However, it should be noted that after summarizing the logic, you also need to use the Minto principle to test your logic to ensure that the information is not repeated and not omitted. How to explain a matter clearly, that is, to let the other party quickly understand the information you want to convey. You need to remember the 3 key points of the pyramid structure: 1 goal, 2 directions, and 3 principles. You can use the SCQA model. First, build a challenge with background and conflict, and then, according to the question plus answer method, arouse the other party's interest. How to use the pyramid principle to find solutions to problems. The most important thing is to establish structured thinking. With the help of the empty umbrella model, you can remember the 3 steps to solve problems. First, define the problem, then analyze the problem, and finally find targeted solutions. In the process of solving problems, please learn from scientists, be bold in hypothesizing, and careful in verifying. The most commonly used method is to use a tangible structure to find the key points of the problem. If you can draw a clear structure of a company or a specific field of an industry, it can help you determine whether there is a problem and find and analyze the reasons for the problem. If you also have good methods, you can share them in the comment area with classmates, and let's build a weapon library of the pyramid principle for thinking, expressing, and acting together. Congratulations, you have finished listening to another book.